Right. Well, we are trying something a little bit new. Normally, this would be put on the podcast, but we are wanted to bring it to YouTube so that we could kind of go into a little bit more detail rather than skipping over it. We welcome to the preview of Top 14 Round 2. Obviously, an intriguing set of results as we talked about on the podcast. If you haven't listened to the podcast, go and check it out. But looking ahead to round two, Richard, or kind of, I guess, linking on from round one, a lot of away wins, few intriguing fixtures, a few ones that were hard to call. This round generally, I think, looks a slightly more predictable round, and you could have some teams in a bit of strife after this. Kind of naught from two looks quite feasible for quite a few of these sides, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious would be, well, certainly off the back of last week's performances, where you think Perpignan are going to struggle to get too much change out of Toulouse.
Yeah,
Not least given, as we said earlier, or we said in the podcast, I think they're slowly the even more of their superstars are coming back, which is slightly unnerving for Perpignan. La Rochelle were pretty good for the most part, weren't they? Away at Bordeaux and Clermont. I'd say maybe a little bit difficult to judge exactly where Clermont were. I think they just came up against a side that are so superior, and there's no shame in that. But again, going away to um, the Marcel de Flandre, which apparently has
yeah.
increased its capacity slightly. They've kind of plugged a few gaps in the corner, a few guys standing on scaffolding, which is good fun. Um, Elsewhere, Rob, what are the other ones that look a little bit
Right,
more
so I'm going to
one-sided?
go just top to bottom. Here's my predictions, Richard.
Okay.
Montauban at home to Lyon. I'm going Montauban. I've got Bayonne to beat Montpellier at home. I've got my boys Section Paloise to beat Stade Francais at home. La Rochelle, as you said, to beat Clermont at home. Toulouse to beat Perpignan at home. Saturday evening late kickoff. Toulon to beat a slightly depleted Cast at home. And then I'm going to go for Bordeaux away to beat Racing 92. Any advances on any of that?
I agree. I agree with all of those.
Full agreement in round two.
I agree with all of those, which can't happen. So
You're going to do the
no, I
dirty on
think
Carl Wilkins, are you, and go for
no,
Leon?
I'm not. I'm not. Although I thought Leon looked quite good last week. I can't do that on our most recent podcast guest. I can maybe. I can try and wind you up and say Stade Francais have decided to turn up. But yeah, yeah. Go on. Let's do that one. Stade Francais at Pau.
Well, I guess it's interesting because like Stade Francais looked really good last week. So, I mean, really good result for Poe. You'd expect first home game of the season. They were pretty tough, relatively tough to beat at home last year. I think they only lost to kind of the big boys, really. Um, Stade Francais were dreadful away last week. That's a kind of last season. That's a crumb of comfort there, I guess. But Stade Francais did look a lot better than they did last season. They came out the blocks firing. I don't know whether that was, yeah, Calm kind of mentioned it a bit maybe there, like Montauban adjusting to it. And I
Hmm.
think they kind of adjusted to it in game. Like the second half, they were much closer and much better, and it felt like a kind of early blitz from Stade Francais. So hard to gauge where Stade Francais are at, I think.
Yeah, yeah. We've spoken about it quite a bit, haven't we? Like, there's a lot of good ingredients there, and last season was a bit of a shambles. One person who was phenomenal at the weekend was Louis Carbonell. We spoke a bit about them not knowing who their best 10 is. Um, Obviously, somebody who, well, he hates the podcast, doesn't he? He gave us
Yeah,
that two
yeah.
star review that time after I wasn't very kind about his kicking, but he was amazing, and is obviously the sort of player who can spark some pretty outrageous things. So look, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's going to happen. But I can certainly see Stad, pushing and maybe getting a bonus point. I think Cast would be really happy. I'd be happy as a Cast fan with a bonus point at Toulon, as you say, particularly slightly depleted. But Toulon looked very, very good.
Toulon did look really good and seemed to have a ton of options because Domon was the main man at 15, and we kind of thought that Jaminet was going to be the man at 15 this season. They brought in Ferte. They seem to just have options everywhere, and they just looked. I mean, they blew Montpellier away early on. Um, the second half was perhaps a bit more even, but like dusted Montpellier really, like with some physicality and some pace. Um, Montpellier perhaps not a team renowned for their pace, maybe more their physicality. Um, but the fact that Toulon were kind of way more physical than them as well and got on the front foot suggests that Toulon are here to be reckoned with. I think the big thing for Cast is kind of as we mentioned, like Santi Arata is going to be away with Uruguay still, or at least
I
if he
think
comes,
so. I
even if he
think
comes
so.
back, you'd imagine there's a
He's
stand
probably
down
not going to
period.
play. Yeah.
And then Papa Lee, who was really good, not just last weekend, but all of last season for Cast. He's, as he said, joining Samoa. Um, Montpellier go away to Bayonne. Any hope there for them?
No, no,
Quite
not for me.
no, and
The start
I've
near the start of last season, I'm pretty sure it was in September last year. They came very close against Bayonne early season, but um, I think Bayonne have gone to another level since then. And to back it up, as we said on the pod, going away to Perpignan is a brilliant statement, and they seem incredibly well drilled. So yeah, I'd say Bayonne. I don't Bayonne didn't lose at the Stade Jean last year. Is that
no,
correct?
correct.
Proper fortress in the
Yeah.
most stringent definition of the word. So no, which probably means Montpellier will get a bonus point win.
I guess the two most controversial ones that we've touched on, Montauban, we've both got winning against Leon, and I maybe we've been blinded by the fact that we've just had a conversation with Carl Wilkins. But I don't know. I think the fact they did piece it together and kind of showed a bit more of their identity in terms of playing some rugby, getting control of the ball, and tightening up their defence. I think showing a bit of that in the second half away at Stade Francais, it gives them a bit of positivity. I was really impressed with Leon. They were. I thought the back row were fantastic, all three of them. Cretin was amazing. I thought Sam Simmons looked like the Sam Simmons that England fans
Yeah,
will remember. Um, so physically up front, they'll be pretty on it. I don't know what team they'll pick. I genuinely like wouldn't put it past Leon to go 10 changes even this early on in the season. I mean, they should be looking at this being like, right, this is an easy away win. We've got to. They won early on last year, didn't they? They won for like the first time in over 500 days or something early on last year, didn't they? Away
yeah,
somewhere, away at Montpellier, I think. I I didn't see. I think the fact that the second half against Racing descended into kind of something very scrappy and disjointed from both sides, I think suggests that Leon aren't perhaps out although the result was really good and they currently sit top. I don't think they're kind of out the woods in terms of some of their sloppiness. Um, and maybe it's the impact of George Smith with in contact that will have the benefit against Montauban because I think the one thing that there will be an adjustment is to the pace and physicality of the top 14, and that is something that when Leon get it right, they do have, and they get that right against really good teams in the top 14. So if they can get that right against Montauban, then it could be a tough first home game for Montauban. But I don't know. I've just got a hunch. I'm going a little bit hunch on
yeah.
that. I think,
No, I like Montauban. This, I think, when we speak to Carl, who's talking about it, they're clearly the step up is such that it's marked in game the sheer pace of it, and what they did show is an ability to adapt. They're going to have to really, really target the away games. Sorry, their home games, because realistically they're probably not going to get too much change away from home. So yeah, they would have been building. I'd imagine building for this for weeks, and arguably perhaps this is the one that's been in sort of forefront in terms of preparation, maybe more than Stade Francais. Putting
yeah,
putting words in people's mouths there, but you'd think this is one to really target, right?
yeah,
Both their first two home games, the one that we're hoping to get to against Montpellier as well, both feel eminently winnable. So
yeah.
I think they'll impress.
And the last one, we both went for an away win Sunday night, Bordeaux at Racing 92. How do you see that? Why are we going? Why are we? Why is it
Well,
so? Why are we both
there's
in agreement?
nothing. I think there was nothing to suggest that Racing, um, well, nothing to suggest in any sort of form to speak of from the performance against Leon. Um, they it would seem early season a little bit at odds at halfback with signing. Although going to pronounce it poorly. Is it Priscantelli, who's the other young? Um, is he Argentine
Yeah,
10 they
I think he's like
signed?
26 though, isn't he? I think he's
Okay.
deceptively old.
Is he? Okay, fair
He's kind
enough.
of
The
in
guy, he
it
was at
lightly,
Zebra.
raced, but yeah, not
Yeah.
particularly young, perhaps.
Um, but obviously Sons was, he's still young and doesn't have top 14 experience, but started on the bench and they've picked. Now Sam James is a fantastic player, and I think we both loved him at Sale. We thought he was excellent when he was fit last year at
Yeah,
Racing, but I don't think he played 10 for something like 6 seasons.
really.
Uh,
He played quite
yeah,
a bit at 10 for sale, but maybe I guess with George Ford and others coming
Yeah,
from him,
it's been a
AJ
while since he
McGinty, and
spent
yeah,
any sort of time at 10, and yeah, it just feels symptomatic of a side that, and we said there maybe a little bit in transition, but a side that's very much there. And I just think the disparity in quality, and we're seeing this a little bit more. Like there are more away wins, it feels, last season than there has been in the past. Just the depth of some of these squads of the sort of big 4 or 5 in the league, and they just don't seem to be too scared about going on the road. So, and I think the disparity in quality between Bordeaux and Racing is pretty large at the moment. So I'd
even
expect,
even if Bordeaux send a slightly rotated squad,
yeah,
I think they've got so much depth now in the pack at least. Be interesting to see
yeah,
if it's Jalibert or Carberry, but I think they've got too much quality and they look pretty good against La Rochelle. They did look pretty slick still with some big injuries missing, and Racing's discipline was just awful, like so bad, and they looked so disjointed in attack. Well, there we have it. Relative agreement between the two of us. Let us know what you think. Get in the comments. Give us a subscribe. Listen to the podcast. We've gone into it in a bit more detail, and we've had a great interview with Carl Wilkins from Montauban, whatever you want to call it. We keeping it Franglais, Montauban.
is that is
I think.
that
Well, he called it like
Franglais?
Montauban. I don't know. Montauban.
Right.
Don't know.
We'll have to
Maybe.
canvass opinion when we're keep a keen ear out when we're there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah. But in the meantime, thanks very much for watching, and look out if you haven't watched it already for Pro Day Dirt preview, which will be coming up also on the channel. And make sure you subscribe when these videos get dropped. But thanks very much for watching.